Welcome to part 2 of our video, Transitioning to Outcome-Based Assessment. In part 1 of this video, we looked at how we can determine what our course outcomes should be and how we might use them in our classes. Now we're going to focus in on how we will use the outcomes to assess our students, including how this might look different in our different classes. We'll also discuss what is required for showing student progress. As a reminder from the last video, the specific expectations help us to teach the overall expectations. They break down the overall expectations into smaller skills or ideas. Not all of the specific expectations need to be assessed. Learning goals are simplified descriptions of those specific expectations. We try to use these to make it clear to students what they need to do in each outcome. And we're trying to do that with more simplified language that our students will understand. We've already turned our overall expectations into the outcomes. Now we're going to take our specific expectations and create learning goals for each of those outcomes. Again, remember, we don't necessarily have to assess all of the specific expectations. Here's an example from our grade 9 science course. It is one of the 2 outcomes in that course that covers the chemistry strand. We've summarized 5 of the specific expectations into these 5 learning goals, or I can statements. We want to do our best to write these learning goals in the language, again, that our students will understand. Notice not all of the specific expectations are being formally assessed within these learning goals. Ideally, we would now organize these learning goals from each outcome into a proficiency scale. This works best if we can see our learning goals representing different levels of achievement within the outcome. For example, here's a completed proficiency scale from the NBE English course. Notice that students can progress through the skills in the outcome from an emerging level to an extending level. This proficiency scale can act as a rubric for the entire outcome. It can be used for any assessment that you might choose to use. If a student is performing at the proficient level, this also indicates that they can also demonstrate the skills at the emerging and developing levels. It also suggests to the students what their next steps are for improvement, which helps give us direction and feedback. The reason we're trying to create a proficiency scale is that it provides several advantages. As mentioned in the last slide, it's easy to provide feedback to students on what their next steps are for improving. It also provides more flexibility in assessing students because it is no longer task dependent. Whatever method we choose to assess our students, the proficiency scale is used to determine the student's current level of achievement. This allows teachers to use different forms of assessment to better meet the needs of their students. There's no longer a need to keep making up more rubrics or marking schemes. The proficiency scale can now be used for all of your assessments within an outcome. The proficiency scale can help guide our conversations and observations towards a student's achievement level, and it helps us focus on what a student knows and can do in an outcome, rather than on any specific task. We also often say that this feels more asset-based. Rather than looking for mistakes that students have made and deducting marks, we're looking at what they have done well, and then making suggestions for what the student's next step should be. Now we're going to take a look at how we can build one of these proficiency scales. Notice that we're using common terminology to describe the levels of achievement, and they're divided into 10% intervals. General descriptions for each level are shown in this table. Notice also that there is room for the possibility that a student has not yet demonstrated an emerging level in a particular outcome. To create the proficiency scale, we're going to look back at the learning goals for the particular outcome. Decide if the learning goal fits into the skill progression. Is it an emerging skill? Maybe it's an extending skill. Place that learning goal under its corresponding level of achievement, and it's likely that it may overlap with more than one level of achievement. We then continue to place these remaining learning goals onto the proficiency scale until they're all placed. This is what the process might look like as we build the proficiency scale shown previously for the NBE course. We've created a learning goal from the specific expectation 3.1. That learning goal overlaps between both an emerging and developing level of achievement. Notice that we've adjusted the wording between each level in order to differentiate between them. Now we've added another learning goal. This corresponds to a higher level thinking skills. Once again, it overlaps over a couple of levels. And here's a third learning goal. This one fits into our proficient level of understanding. We would continue this process with each of our learning goals to eventually complete the proficiency scale. We'll continue this process for each of the outcomes in the course. This is a big job, but it gets easier if you're able to work with a team. Working with others also helps to make our proficiency scales more consistent, which of course is an advantage. Now we need to look at how we can record student progress within an outcome and how we'll share that information with students. This is an example of a spreadsheet that could be used to track progress. It is one option you could use, and links to similar spreadsheets are provided on the LKDSB OBA website. However, if you're more comfortable still using Aspen or Brightspace, these are options that are available to you as well. This is an example of what a student printout could look like. Notice that the student report should show a student's level of achievement within each outcome, as well as the student's overall achievement in the course. This helps to provide really useful information about a student's strengths and weaknesses within a course. For more information about how you can use one of these spreadsheets, I'd encourage you to watch the Recording Progress Using a Proficiency Scale video, which you can find on the website. If you feel like a proficiency scale is a good fit for your course, you can stop the video here. But if you're not sure if a proficiency scale really is a good fit for your class, we have another option. In some courses, you may have difficulty organizing these learning goals into proficiency scales. Earlier, we looked at the learning goals for the grade 9 science course. It turns out it was really difficult to organize these into a proficiency scale because students could demonstrate both very high level thinking and emerging level thinking in all of the different learning goals. So instead, we have a new model, which we're calling the weighted average model. This will feel more familiar to most of us. It is similar to how we could break a student's mark into knowledge and communication categories, for example. But in this case, each outcome will become its own category. Using the weighted average model, we will still be able to show student progress within each outcome, and it will allow us to use our professional judgment in a more accurate way, since we can think about each outcome separately. This is an example of what a spreadsheet might look like using the weighted average model. Again, Aspen or Brightspace are also options you can use, but the spreadsheet helps to show a simple picture of what that might look like for now. This is what a student report might look like. Notice again how it shows a student's achievement in each outcome and the overall mark in the course. You can get more information on how to use this type of spreadsheet by watching the How to Record Progress Using a Weighted Average video. Thanks for watching. For more information, we encourage you to please check out the other videos that you'll find on the OBA website.